1. This happened around a year ago now, and I can finally bring myself to laugh at this story. It was the day myself and my partner were moving to a new rental apartment. It also happened to be a public holiday, which suited us perfectly, because there was less traffic and we both had the day off to power through the move. As with most other moves, it was stressful, and some things had already gone wrong. It's just worth mentioning that the little mishaps throughout the day had cut into our moving budget. Not a big deal, though. These things happen, and we were prepared. We unloaded the last bits and pieces around 8 p.m. and finally relaxed in our new apartment. We decided to have a glass of wine out on the balcony to toast our new apartment and the end of our move. My partner went out onto the balcony and I soon followed, sliding the door closed behind us as a force of habit. That's when I heard the gentle click. We both realized exactly what happened and rushed to the door to try and open it, incredulously finding it locked. We both tried to force it open because it was quite a dainty lock mechanism, with the hopes that it would unlock just as magically as it had locked. It didn't work. Shortly after this, my partner went into denial and shock, because this was one of his worst fears coming to life. But very luckily, he had his phone on him. We don't often have our phones on us when at home, so this was truly lucky. I tried contacting whoever I thought of while my partner sat at the corner in disbelief. I tried calling our rental agent with no response. As expected on a public holiday. I tried calling the body corporate of the building, no response. I even tried calling the emergency number listed on our tenancy agreement, only to find the number was no longer in use. After exhausting the list of numbers I could call, I finally decided to call a 24/7 locksmith. This wasn't an ideal route, since breaking and changing the lock would cause a lot of issues, since the property was a rental. However, we decided to go ahead with this because an hour had already passed and we didn't want to spend our first night there, on the balcony. The 24/7 locksmith service was a breeze to deal with. A $50 call-out fee was all we had to pay if the lock could be picked rather than broken, which seemed awfully cheap considering labor costs on public holidays. The locksmith was at our door within an hour and was extremely soothing on the phone while he explained what he was doing. Apparently, the lock was a particularly tricky one, and he thought it was likely it would have to be broken. After finding out the apartment was a rental, he decided against breaking the lock and attempted to pick it for over half an hour. No luck. He then very hesitantly said that he would need to break the lock. He was upfront about the costs, stating that it would be around $250 to break and replace the lock. Having no other choice, we agreed to this. The locksmith then decided to give picking the lock one more try and call me back. The locksmith called me back around 10 minutes later to tell me he still hasn't had any luck. However, he was still very against breaking the lock because he knew how badly it would reflect on us as tenants. As a last hurrah, he asked me whether he could get to where we were through one of our neighbors' apartments. I realized that he could probably jump over from our neighbor's balcony since we have an adjoining wall. Our neighbor was kind enough to let the locksmith onto his balcony, without knowing the situation whatsoever, from which the locksmith jumped over to meet us. Now here comes the absolute kicker. After some quick jokes about the situation, the locksmith walks over to our balcony door, all while saying, this door," gave it a simple lift and pull to open the door. My partner and I kicked ourselves after. We both took it in turns trying out the lift and pull method on the locked door, where it worked every damn time. Meanwhile, we were charged $253 by the locksmith, even though the lock required no picking, breaking, nor replacing. The best part of this story is that this exact door and lock has not once automatically locked like that again in the year we've now lived here. We even spoke to the neighbors about it, and they also found it very strange because they all have the same door in their balconies and have never encountered this issue. 2. I was invited to a birthday party for an old friend. I asked them what sort of thing they wanted for their birthday, and they said, "Ever since I discovered buckyballs, I've been really into adult toys." I didn't know what buckyballs were, but I know what adult toys are, so figured the name was self-explanatory. I thought it was a little bizarre to ask other people to buy you that kind of thing, especially since the invite for the party encouraged everyone to bring their families, but whatever floats your boat, I don't personally care. So I did some research and ended up getting them a Pivot combination cock ring vibrator. I get to the birthday party, put my wrapped gift on the gift table, and all is well. We all drank champagne and socialized for a bit. I've known a lot of the people there for decades, so we were briefing each other on how our kids are doing, work, etc. Fast forward about 45 minutes, we're eating cake, and it's announced it's time to open presents. We gather around, and the first open present is a drone. I figured maybe not everyone was a close enough friend to ask to buy an adult toy. A few people had brought their spouses and kids along too, so I assumed the presents known to contain adult toys would be set aside to open later, in private. The next present was a Raspberry Pi gaming kit from their closest friend in attendance. If anyone would be trusted to get an adult toy, it would have been this guy. Red flag. I then see my present was still mixed in with all the presents being opened. Now I'm getting confused and getting nervous, wondering if maybe they were joking and didn't think I'd ever actually get them a sex toy. Third present is opened. It's a giant Jenga. That's when I made the connection. I frantically whip out my phone and Google buckyballs. They're a magnetic desk toy of little balls that you mold into shapes. My nightmare suspicion is confirmed. I'm trying to maneuver my way to the table to get my present back without making a scene. But there were barely 15 people at the whole party, so I was having trouble being discreet. Just as I'm almost within arm's reach of the table, of course mine is grabbed. Paper is torn off, and they turn the box over in their hands. It's not immediately obvious what it is to look at the box, because it's just a nondescript image of a plastic doodad with a hole in it and a logo, Pivot by WeVibe. I hear, "WeVibe, is it a speaker? How cool!" Someone goes, "How does it work?" And they start to read off the box, projecting for the whole room to hear. "Powerful vibrations intensify pleasure during sex with rumbly..." Oh. We're making partial eye contact, totally red in the face and embarrassed at this point. People in the room who've known me as a schoolteacher for years are now glaring at me as a sick fuck who brought a sex toy to a family birthday party at 3 in the afternoon, on a Sunday. I quietly explain the mix-up, and thankfully, most of the room is laughing so hard they can barely breathe. Most of the people who had kids with them were less amused, with one woman having to usher out her 7-year-old who was still going, "What is it? What is it? I didn't see it yet." Some of the group invited me to every party they threw from then on, and others never invited me anywhere again. 3. It was my boss's 25th year at the company last week, and had we been at the office, there would have been a pretty big party. I don't know my boss all that well. There are roughly 50 of us working underneath her, and I have a lot more contact with the middleman supervisor, but we're perfectly friendly. We eat lunch at the same table sometimes, play online Scrabble, and I'd even venture to say we're something like friends. Or at least, we were before this. I felt genuinely bad that her party was cancelled, and I also know she's got ultimate veto power on layoffs and promotions, so I thought I'd mark the occasion by sending some flowers. She'd had a few company-wide social functions at her house over the years, so I had the address from the Evite. I picked out some festive bouquet from an online florist, and as I was checking out, they gave me an option to add a teddy bear, chocolates, or balloons. The photo under, "Would you like to add balloons?" said "Congratulations." And that was perfect for the occasion, so I went for it. It asked if I'd like to pick my balloon design, but I don't know the first thing about good or bad balloon design. So I just clicked continue, thinking any congratulations balloon was fine. There was an option to write a personalized message on the card, but I didn't know her well enough to write anything too heartfelt, and I'm terrible with those pithy greeting cards, so I just wrote, "From Torn Compact." Didn't think about it again until I got a message that it had been delivered. When I didn't hear anything from her for a couple of days, I thought, that's kind of rude of her. But I figured maybe she was being inundated with gifts and was going to send a mass thank you email at the end of the week. Whatever. I didn't really care. I figured she must be busy because I hadn't gotten any emails from her all week, and my unit is usually copied on a lot of her correspondences. Fast forward to this morning. I got a somber email that the boss and the head of HR would like to have a Zoom call. That's never good. I'm going through everything I've done at work in my mind, wondering if I was too casual in a joke, or if someone could have noticed weed in the background of one of my previous calls, panicking. I sign on, and there's my boss looking very uncomfortable. She says I'm not in any trouble, but she felt it was best to have someone from HR there as a third-party mediator. Now I'm really panicked because I thought that must mean I'm getting laid off. Nope. She says, I'm paraphrasing as best I can remember, because my head was swimming at this point like the steepest drop in a roller coaster. Listen, I'm flattered by the gesture, but I'm also recently engaged. You've read too much into our work acquaintanceship and seeing something that's just not there. I'm sorry. I just want to be on record right now that you've never been to my home outside of business events with large groups. We do not have personal correspondence. We have never even exchanged phone numbers. I'm sitting here thinking, what a self-important bitch to think every guy who sends flowers is trying to get in her pants. Didn't she see the balloon? I'm never doing anything nice for anyone again. I try to keep my cool, though, because this isn't the best market to become unemployed. I said there had definitely been some sort of miscommunication because whatever she was implying was totally inaccurate and not the case. She said, "Turn compact. It'll be easier for everyone if we just confront what happened and try to move past it. I'm sure none of this can be easy for you to hear if you thought our relationship was of that nature. But I assure you it was not, and frankly, this wasn't a great situation for me either." At that point, I was offended, because I'd gone out of pocket to have a nice gift. But worse, even if the flowers had been romantic, the fact that she was so disgusted by me that she had to call HR and say it wasn't a great situation for her just got under my skin. I already just took a 30% pay cut this quarter. I could have used that flower money for groceries. So unwisely I said, "Getting flowers wasn't a great situation for you. I'm sorry you misunderstood, but come on, this is a bit much." And she responds, getting angry. "Getting a bouquet of flowers with a giant red heart balloon that says 'I love you' addressed to me from a coworker, delivered in front of my fiancé isn't a great situation, no. And I don't know how you thought it was acceptable or appropriate for that matter reciprocal. I'm going to need you to tell him that there isn't anything between us." Just as the HR rep was interjecting, I think telling her she couldn't officially force me to do that, her statement hit me. I backtracked. To make a long story short, turns out the congratulations balloon was a stock photo, and when I declined to choose my balloon design, it defaulted to the first option on the list, which was apparently a heart-shaped I love you balloon. The congratulations balloon was lower, and I would have had to select it. So my poor boss just got flowers and a giant heart balloon that said I love you, with a card that only read from my first name. A co-worker she doesn't know well, who somehow still had her address from when he'd been at her house 2 years back. Even if she's fully convinced of my story, her fiancé will, understandably, always be suspicious of me and be rooting for me to quit or get fired. And I don't think she is convinced of my story at all. She's definitely uncomfortable around me now. I get way fewer emails from her now, and she blocked me on online Scrabble. I can kiss any hope of an internal advance goodbye, but at least I still have a job. For now. 4. I'm a Hispanic female in my mid-20s. This story happened in 2011, sophomore year of high school. Like many others before me, I had wanted to join an extracurricular activity. I decided on joining the FFA, otherwise known as the Future Farmers of America. We learn various skills and compete in events, from raising livestock, carpentry, judging livestock, art displays, and even baking. I chose to do horse judging and carpentry. After learning all I needed to properly judge a horse, and together with my friends, constructed a fairly decent-sized coffee table, we were ready for the competition. Even though it was nearly spring, the weather was cold and damp from the constant drizzle of rain. I'm a Texas girl, born and raised. I absolutely loathe the cold. That day I was wearing an extra-large coat, to where I could simply tuck my hands inside the large sleeves. After waiting in line, freezing our butts off to get the tickets, we were almost at the main entrance. Our teacher told us to have our tickets ready, except I didn't have mine. I could have sworn I placed it in my pocket. I looked all around me, thinking maybe it slipped out, but no. Reluctantly, I told my teacher the bad news. She looked absolutely exasperated at the bad timing. There wasn't enough time to head back, so she did the next best thing. She corralled the entire group, about 8 of us close with me at the center. I was fairly short compared to the others. While the ticket person was distracted, I was hidden enough to not be noticed. I couldn't believe my teacher actually snuck me inside. As we were nearing the horse-judging arena, I slipped my hands inside the sleeves of my coat and felt something touch my hand. It was my ticket. Somehow, when I put the ticket in my pocket, it managed to get inside my sleeve. I was mortified when I showed everyone. My classmates thought it was hilarious, but my teacher had a scary look on her face. The last time she made a face like that was when the senior boys thought it would be funny to chase the girls with a frozen centipede around the classroom. It was the face of really wanting to strangle someone. Thankfully, I made amends by scoring in the top group of the horse judging competition. For weeks afterwards, the whole group wouldn't stop talking about how our teacher smuggled a student into an event. 5. I'm 25 years old and female, and my girlfriend Zoe is 22. We live with our boxing enthusiast roommate, Miranda, who's also 22 and female. My girlfriend is college age, I am not. She's got an incredibly conservative family who would disown her if she ever came out. So please, no shit like have her come out, lol, it's not that bad or whatever. She's got 2.5 more years of school, finishing senior year and 2 years in grad school, and she needs their support to pay for it. She also doesn't want to lose contact with her young siblings before they come of age, who she loves, but would be immediately cut off from her if she came out. She cannot come out. Needless to say, the pandemic was hard for communication. Zoe and I share a room and a bed, and in practically every angle of our room you can see that 2 people stay in it. And the way our desks are positioned means that whenever both of us are on Zoom calls, the other is in frame. The first time her parents proposed a Zoom with her, I tried to move all the equipment into the other room, but the desk wouldn't fit through the door. We tried to hide it, but a bunch of other clues made it extremely obvious that 2 people were living there. So as predicted, disaster struck. Zoe's parents asked her who the mystery man living with her was, and she said Zach. By the time the Zoom call was over, she'd created a whole character. We talked it over and decided that I was going to play Zach. If they ever demanded Zach come for holidays, she'd say they broke up. But for now, I was going to have to become Zach. It was a bit difficult because we're both incredibly femme, so we had to actually order a couple of stereotypically masculine outfits. I started working out a lot more, partially because I would like to be buff, because Zoe would like me to be buff, and because we felt a more muscular frame would help to trick them. You know, conservatives and gender roles and all. I'm a good deal taller than Zoe, so that helped. Basically, the overall effect was a tall, muscular guy, rather than the tall, muscular girl I usually am. A rather intimidating figure, if I do say so myself. I considered buying some fake facial hair, but Zoe thought it'd be going a bit overboard. So Zoe introduced me to her parents, who were enamored with me, because I'm charming as fuck. And it wasn't super hard to impersonate a somewhat soft-spoken guy. Basically, I was just myself, same age, same job, same everything, so it wasn't that hard. I would go on like that for basically all of quarantine, but here's the key part. We stayed in our room the entire time, except for a recent Zoom meeting where I had to go to the bathroom, so Zach excused himself and did so. Now, we have one bathroom in our tiny apartment, so when one of us has to pee, we'll go in if one of the others is showering or anything. We have a thick shower curtain. It's not weird, we do this regularly. So at this moment in time, Miranda was in the shower. Or rather, just getting out. I heard the water running, couldn't really hold it for very long, and figured I could come in, and found a partially naked Miranda wrapped in a towel shutting off the water. Normally, this wouldn't be that big of a problem. We're generally comfortable around one another's bodies. But the problem comes when Miranda, again partially nude, sees a big tall buff dude she's never seen before standing in the doorway to the bathroom. Remember, both me and Zoe are really femme, so normally neither of us would normally wear anything like what I was wearing. But you do remember how I told you that Miranda's a boxer? Well, she sucked me right in the face and screamed bloody murder, then waited on me until Zoe rushed in and pulled her off me and explained what was going on. I was too caught off guard to say anything, and no matter how hard my muscles may be, I am very soft and can't really put up a fight. I wasn't hurt too badly, but I'm pretty bruised. Miranda's got that in her conscience for probably forever, so it's not that bad. She bought us ice cream, which was nice. Next time I decide to cross-dress for my girlfriend's parents, though, I'll make sure to tell my roommate. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Embarrassing Stories, number 83. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories and sent in stories for use in this video. If you have a story yourself, you can send it along to kingofthecities@gmail.com. Also, as usual, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button, leave a comment, and share the video around. It greatly helps me and the channel. Okay, let's see. Well, the last one of these did much better than I expected. Let's see. Let's have a little look at the numbers. Certainly better than they had been doing before I cancelled it. Right, where was the last one? Yeah, definitely doing better than it was before it was cancelled. Not phenomenal views. We're definitely trying to get those up. That's why I'm asking you guys to share the videos and everything, because that's all helpful to me, and the likes and the comments and everything makes sure YouTube gives the videos more attention. Right, it's quite warm where I am right now. I'm turning into Melty Freezer, so I'm going to head off for now and have a nice lolly, I think. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.